my name's Sarah. This is Yoga for Everybody, an online class for Heartspace Dundee. Today's class is going to be a yin yoga class, and today you will need a mat and a wall. If you don't have a mat, you can use a blanket to pad the spine. Set up so that the short end of your mat is against the wall or your blanket, and ensuring that you do have padding for your head as well. You may also need some extra blankets or blocks if you have those available to you, or some firm cushions for the class. But this class should be doable just using padding for the spine and the wall. We will be taking this class mainly on our back with our legs up the wall. So if you're able to move your device so that you'll be able to see when you're on the back, then do so. Before we start, I'll just give a brief introduction to yin yoga if you've not practiced yin before. So yin yoga isn't as dynamic as some other forms of yoga. It's also not restorative yoga, although we do often feel quite rested after it. It cultivates a stretch still using some activation, some activation of the muscles, and then we can allow that to soften, to stretch the myofascia and soft tissues. It can sometimes be an emotional practice, so if anything does come up for you during the practice emotionally, then that's okay. Just during yin, we like to be impartial observers, so let the emotions flow without giving it too much thought or wondering why it's happening. Coming into a comfortable seated, using the wall to be supported if you want to be seated, or lying down on the back, legs outstretched, palms facing the ceiling, or placing them lightly onto the abdomen. If it's growly on the lower back to have legs outstretched, bend the knees, placing the feet hip distance apart or wider, and allowing the knees to gently come together in the centre. Making any adjustments with the head so it feels comfortable, so maybe moving hair if it's trapped, and then gently tucking the chin towards the chest to elongate the back of the spine. We will be directing our attention inwards. I invite you to close your eyes, and if that's not comfortable, lower the gaze and soften the focus. Without changing anything, begin to notice your breath. How the breath moves into the body. Where it travels, and how it leaves. Without changing anything, begin to scan your physical body. Notice any areas of tension, pain, or even those areas that feel good today. Without judgment, impartially observe your thoughts and emotions. Notice how they pass through the mind or the body without analysing. Begin to deepen the breath. Ballooning the inhale into the abdomen, feeling the belly rise. And as you exhale, gently drawing the belly button down towards the spine. Observe where the breath can travel through the body. Send the yang, the inhale, on a little excavation tour around your body, feeling where it can begin to make some space. Perhaps the rib cage is expanding more widely. As you exhale, the yin element of the breath, feel how tension can dissolve and softness can enter into the physicalness of your body. Learn to become an observer. Noticing what is happening and watching as if you're watching from afar. This practice can help us begin to connect into our bodies, our emotions, and our thoughts and feelings in those times when our mind becomes overcrowded. Slowly begin to move the fingers and the toes, bringing awareness back into the body. If your legs are outstretched, bend the knees, placing the feet to the floor. Rolling onto whichever side is comfortable, use the hands to bring yourself up to a seated position. Lastly, bringing a hand to the side of the head, using that to bring the head up with a relaxed neck. And if that's not comfortable, lower the gaze and soften the focus. Without changing anything, begin to notice your breath. How the breath moves into the body. Where it travels. And how it leaves. Without changing anything, begin to scan your physical body. Notice any areas of tension, pain, or even those areas that feel good today. Without judgment, impartially observe your thoughts and emotions. Notice how they pass through the mind or the body without analysing. Begin to deepen the breath. Ballooning the inhale into the abdomen, feeling the belly rise. And as you exhale, gently drawing the belly button down towards the spine. Observe where the breath can travel through the body. Send the yang, the inhale, on a little excavation tour around your body, feeling where it can begin to make some space. Perhaps the rib cage is expanding more widely. As you exhale, the yin element of the breath, feel how tension can dissolve and softness can enter into the physicalness of your body. Learn to become an observer. Noticing what is happening and watching as if you're watching from afar. This practice can help us begin to connect into our bodies, our emotions, and our thoughts and feelings in those times when our mind becomes overcrowded. Slowly begin to move the fingers and the toes, bringing awareness back into the body. If your legs are outstretched, bend the knees, placing the feet to the floor. Rolling onto whichever side is comfortable, use the hands to bring yourself up to a seated position. Lastly, bringing a hand to the side of the head, using that to bring the head up with a relaxed neck. As we move through practice today, maintain the deep breath that we've just created. If you are used to practicing with Ujjayi breath, during Yin Yoga, we breathe consciously with depth without the restriction in the throat. Today's practice, we'll be doing our yin poses with our legs up the wall. This helps revive tired legs and also presses that physical, mental and emotional reset button. Yin poses have different names to the poses in other practices, even though they are the same postures. So I will be saying those names as well, so that you can do this, hopefully using my voice if you are not able to see your device when you come down onto your back. Setting up for our first pose. Bringing yourself so that the bum is as close to the skirting board as you can have it, and then coming to lie down onto the back, moving cats if they're in the way. And then, if like me, you've not managed to get too close, wiggling the bum closer into the skirting. Palms out 45 degrees to the body, tucking the chin towards the chest to lengthen through the spine, or hands onto the abdomen if that's more comfortable. Butterfly or Baddha Konasana, bringing the soles of the feet together up against the wall. If you are needing any support, you can take a block and bring it in under the thighs to help support the thighs, or using one of your cushions. Inhaling to press the soles of the feet together, activating the feet by spreading the toes and peeling them away from each other. Allowing the knees to widen towards the wall. As you exhale, begin to soften the activation. You may find your feet may slide a little closer down the wall. Maintain the deep breath. And again, be curious about where that breath can travel to. I invite you to experiment sending the breath down into the pelvis and hips. Staying in the pose. Welcome stillness into the pose. making movements if you feel any pain or discomfort. Otherwise, being aware of whether that urge to move is a physical sensation or a mental sensation. Observe the breath, the sensation in the body, and surrender to the pose, finding that balance of an active stretch without it being too much. Quieten any inner dialogue. Yin yoga also differs from some other forms of yoga, as it uses the philosophy of traditional Chinese medicine. The 5 elements of traditional Chinese medicine are water, wood, earth, metal, and fire. Each of these elements is linked to the meridian lines, the energy lines within our bodies. And these elements are able to support each other, as well as act antagonistically against another. Each element is also connected to an emotion, a season, an organ within the body, etc. As we take our last few breaths in the pose, notice whether there's any room to soften any further. Or if you maybe need to back off a little because you've reached the tipping point of where you're comfortable in the pose. Take 3 more inhales in this pose. After the 3rd inhale, bringing the hands to the outside of the thighs, using the hands to bring the knees to close. Taking any movement here that may feel good, so maybe rocking from side to side or bringing the knees in to the chest, or maybe circling the knees. Moving into our second pose. Dragonfly or straddle, legs up the wall. Reaching the legs up the wall, taking a bend into the knees if you have very tight hamstrings. If your hamstrings are very tight and you wish to explore Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose again, then bring the soles of the feet together. Otherwise, legs up the wall, taking that bend in the knees if required. Inhale and direct the heels towards the ceiling. Activating the toes, spreading and lifting them towards the shins. Inhale, allowing with control the heels to move apart so the legs come into a straddle position. Keeping the press through the heels, taking props where needed to support the thighs. If you have a strap available and your straddle is falling too wide, you can also loop the strap around your feet to prevent the feet from opening too wide. Make any movements you need to adjust your props slowly, mindfully. As you exhale, release the activation on the muscles. Allow the knees to be pointing directly forwards. Try not to put any strain in the knees or ankles. As you stay in the pose, you may find your straddle deepens. Continue to find that deep explorative breath. Staying in the pose and welcoming stillness. Many of these hip opening poses help us balance the elements and the emotions. Mainly working with the element of water. Some of these hip opening poses also work with the elements of wood. And earth. You can see how these are connected as water waters the earth, so that plants and trees can grow. If there's a shortage of water, then the earth would become dry. And it's harder for vegetation to grow. When we balance these elements, the emotions that are connected with these help us feel courage, compassion, grounded, and help us to feel confidence. Counteracting the imbalance of fear, worry, and agitation. As you exhale, welcome in feelings of confidence, courage, and compassion. Taking 3 more deep inhales. Again, as you exhale, see if you can find any more space for softness. After your third breath, moving any props out of the way. Bringing the hands to the outside of the thighs and using the hands, bending the knees slightly, using the hands to bring the legs back to center. Again, just taking a moment, bringing the knees to the chest if that's comfortable, and just rocking gently side to side, circling the knees either in opposite directions or the same directions, just to free up the hips. Our next pose we're coming into is squat, malasana, or also known as yogi squat. Coming into malasana on the back is a really interesting way to explore this pose, as being on the back, we're changing our centre of gravity, which is the sacrum. So instead of having the weight above the pelvis, from the anterior part of our body, we now have it on the bottom half of our body. So what is normally a challenging pose can be less challenging in this supine position. Taking the knees wide, moving back from the wall if you need to do that, depending on your range of flexibility. Having the knees tracking in the same direction as the feet. So this may mean that your feet are out at a 45 degree, or they may be pointing upwards, depending on your level of flexibility and where your body is anatomically. Trying to have the shins parallel to the floor, heels in line with the knees. Again, bringing the hands, palms facing the ceiling, about 45 degrees away from the body, or if it's more comfortable, resting them onto the abdomen. Inhale, spread the toes, press the feet into the wall. Experiment here with tucking the tailbone down or sticking the bum out slightly to feel which gives you more space in your hips and more comfort in your low back. As you exhale, releasing the activation of the muscles while still actively pursuing the stretch in the soft tissues. For me, I find this also a really interesting place to sense out that exploratory breath and where we can find space in the pelvis. Breathing deeply and feeling for whether you're able to feel the change in pressure in the pelvic floor in this pose. Our pelvic floor is a diaphragm, like the respiratory diaphragm. So when we inhale deeply in yoga, we are changing the pressure in the abdominal cavity as well. Welcoming stillness into the pose. Taking any tension out of the shoulders, out of the face, even releasing the exhales through the mouth and moving the chin side to side if required. observing thoughts and sensations. Exhaling, releasing tension in the lower back and the bum. Those big muscles around the tops of the thighs that help support us on our feet. Surrendering to the yoga mat. Coming out of the pose with conscious slowness, bringing the hands to the outside of the thighs to close the knees, maybe heel toeing the feet along the wall as well to bring those thighs together. Taking any movement here, again, maybe a gentle rock side to side. Maybe circling the knees one direction, then the other, or opposite directions. Perhaps even straightening the legs, one leg and then the other, up the wall. We'll begin to move into swan. Also, you may know this pose as pigeon or back release or figure four. Bringing the feet, knees bent, shins parallel to the ground, heels in line with the knee. Maybe wiggling yourself backwards along your mat so your knee is at a 90-degree angle above the pelvis if you have tighter hips. Exhaling to bring the right ankle onto the left knee. Flexing this foot to protect the ankle joint and support it. Inhale, telescope the ribs along the mat. Tuck the chin towards the chest. On your next exhale, you might find you compress the ball of the foot into the wall, lifting the heel to move the knee closer to the chest. Feeling a stretch on the outer hip. Exhaling, allowing the pelvis to relax to the ground. Making any adjustments to the pose to find your edge, either moving in towards the wall for a deeper stretch if your flexibility allows, or away if you are tight in the hips. Welcoming in stillness. Palms facing the ceiling. Sending the breath into the outer right hip. This being a single leg pose, we will, for balance, to what yin is all about, achieving balance, move on to the other side. But for now, observing any thoughts, feelings, sensations. Again, exhaling, releasing any place where you're transferring tension into the body. And as we take our last 3 inhales in the pose, again seeing whether that knee, the right knee, can move towards the wall any further, deepening the sensations, or whether you're actually needing to back away. Listen to your body. Exhale, slowly releasing the ankle from the knee, using the hands to do so if you need to. Placing that foot back onto the wall beside the other. Maybe taking the feet one at a time at the wall. And just taking 3 breaths here. Feeling for the difference between each side of the body. Setting up for the other side, bending the right leg so the knee is at 90 degrees above the hips or knee over the abdomen if you're more flexible. Heel in line with the knee. As you exhale, bringing the left knee so it wings out to the side of the body, crossing the ankle over the right knee, flexing the foot to support the ankle joint. Inhale to telescope the ribs towards the top of your mat, and as you exhale, tuck in the chin to lengthen the spine, allowing the palms to face the ceiling or hands on abdomen. Inhaling deeply into the abdomen. Sending the breath to the outer left hip. I'm recognizing that this side may feel completely different to the other side. Maybe tighter, it may be more flexible. And knowing that this is fine, it's normal. Activate the right foot by lifting the toes and spreading them wide. Maybe pressing the ball of the foot into the wall to bring the left knee closer in over the abdomen. Maybe coming onto the ball of the foot, pressing into the wall to bring the left shin closer into the abdomen. Exhale, allowing the pelvis to relax towards the floor. Breathing deeply. Inviting in stillness. So our hips can hold a lot of tension, a lot of repressed emotions. So as I said at the beginning of the class, if any of that is coming up for you during the class, be aware. If it releases, perhaps through crying, that's okay. Allow that to happen. Or be aware of any extra gripping through emotional release or fidgeting. Being that impartial observer. Exhaling and allowing softness whilst maintaining the flex in the left ankle to protect the joint. Exhaling and releasing tension. Softening the muscles in the lower back. Softening the muscles around the bottom. Coming out of the pose, using the hands to release the left foot from the ankle, allowing that foot to go back onto the wall. Again, taking any movements, maybe a small rock side to side, knees into chest if that's comfortable for you, or bringing the feet up the wall. Moving into spinal twist. Maybe bringing the bum a little closer to the wall, depending on your flexibility. Bringing the knees in towards the chest, feet on the floor. Hands coming into a fallen over cactus or golf pose position. Inhale to telescope the ribs towards the top of the mat. Tuck the chin to lengthen through the entire spine. And as you exhale, allow the knees to gently come to the ground. If this is a lot, taking a prop, a cushion, blanket or block under the shins to where the twist is comfortable for you. Then allowing the hands either to come out so the arms are 90 degrees to the torso, maybe keeping the cactus, or bringing the one arm up, the opposite arm up above the head, the other one down at 45 degrees, whatever arm position is comfortable for you, but preferably one that allows the chest to open. Inhale, press with active feet into the wall. And as you exhale, allow everything to soften. Maybe over time you may be able to remove the prop. Experimenting with sticking the bum out and then tucking the tailbone to the heels to find where's comfortable, where's a neutral spine. Then welcoming in stillness. And releasing tension in the shoulders. Releasing tension in the thighs, lower back. If there is any gripping in the hip, especially the upper hip, you can place your left hand into the hip crease and press the thigh towards the wall and then down towards your knee to create space. Coming back to center. Bringing the arms into a goalpost or cactus position. Inhaling, bringing the top knee back to center, followed by the bottom. Just making sure you're central again on that mat after the twist, before moving into the opposite side. Inhaling, telescoping the ribs towards the top of the mat, tucking the chin towards the chest, and as you exhale, allowing the knees to gently rotate down towards the right hand side. Again, if you need to place props under the shin to support yourself in a twist, then do so. Taking the arms into a comfortable open chest position, palms facing the ceiling. Activate the feet, pressing them into the wall. And as you exhale, release. Again, maybe exploring with sticking the bottom out and then exhaling, tucking the tailbone towards the heels, releasing to find a neutral spine. Exhaling to release any gripping in the thighs, low back. And again, that traction is available for the upper hip if there's any discomfort. Taking the hand onto the top of the thigh bone into the hip crease, pressing the thigh towards the wall and then drawing it towards the knee. Having the thumb tucked in to protect the wrist joint. And welcoming in stillness. To exit the pose, inhale, bringing the arms back into a cactus position. Inhaling, bringing the top leg back to center, followed by the bottom leg. We're moving into Shavasana, final relaxation pose. If you wish to do this legs up the wall, then you may do so. If you have a strap or a scarf available to put around the calves, hip, so the feet remain hip distance apart. After all the hip opening that we've done so far today, I wouldn't recommend doing Shavasana in straddle or Baddha Konasana, butterfly, as we would like you to be able to walk still after the class. Okay, so if you want to come into a Shavasana, taking the bottom again close to the wall and then swinging the legs carefully, when I say swinging, up the wall, and then palms facing the ceiling. Tucking the chin to lengthen through the spine. If you wish to take a traditional corpse pose, lying on the back, feet spreading out and allowing the feet to turn outwards, palms facing the ceiling, then you may do so. Again, as at beginning of class, if there's any discomfort in the back when laying fully outstretched on the back, bending the knees and allowing the knees to meet together in the center. Take one deep inhale all together. Exhale, sighing out through the mouth. Repeat this again 3 more times if required before moving into Shavasana, final relaxation pose. This is the time at the end of practice where we take intentional rest. I invite you to release any control over the breathing, removing the conscious effort. Feel supported by the ground beneath you. And allow the mind to clear or let the thoughts pass. Slowly begin to deepen your breath. Feel the abdomen swell. Drawing the belly button down towards the spine on exhales. As we did at the beginning of class, scan your body, scope out how you feel after your practice. Observe your thoughts, feelings, and notice whether there's a shift. Slowly begin to move the fingers and toes, bringing awareness into the body. Taking movement into wrists and ankles if that feels good for you. And then inhaling to bring the knees into the chest. Maybe taking one of those gentle rocks side to side. In your own time, roll into whichever side is comfortable for yourself. Bringing yourself up using the hands. Hand on the side of the head to bring the head up with a relaxed neck. Finding a comfortable seated position. Inhaling to telescope the ribs away from the pelvis, and as you exhale, drawing upper arm bones down away from the shoulders. Placing hands together at heart center. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for this Yoga for Everybody class online. Yin yoga, even though it isn't a dynamic practice, so we're not sweating much, we still need to hydrate afterwards because the stretching hydrates the body on the inside. So it is important to still drink plenty of water after today's class. Have a hot bath or a hot shower and take care of yourself, and just see you soon on the mat. Bye.